Welcome to the West Sussex Voice and Participation Podcast, a space where children, young people, families, and carers share stories, shape services, and celebrate achievements. Sit back and enjoy our latest podcast.
Hey everyone, I hope you're doing good because I definitely am. And welcome back to the second episode of the Youth Equity Campaign podcast with your host, me, Aisha Faizul, and your other host,
Kanza Abdulaziz.
So this episode might feel kinda new, but really it's just another intro adding on to what we missed out in the last Youth Equity podcast. Just to be clear, by the way, Youth Equity is part of a bigger organisation called the Youth Cabinet. And I almost forgot to ask, how are you doing, Kanza?
I'm good, thanks. But first, let's talk about allyship. Allyship is about supporting people from disempowered communities and standing up for what's right. Unfortunately, though, some people don't do that. Civil rights is when everyone gets a voice, and it's really important that no one gets left out.
Yeah, unless you want to ask the people who somehow still don't get it. And that kind of ties into anti-Asian racism. It's when Asians face discrimination, usually because some people believe ridiculous stereotypes or just don't know how to mind their own business.
For example, some people assume that every Asian is a math genius or can tolerate spice, which is
Right.
really pathetic.
Right, I'm over here struggling to do basic mental math.
Don't even get me started on how this gets worse during tough times, though. Some people panic and decide to blame a whole ethnic group for their problems.
Exactly, but what's inspiring is how people fight back. Activists, communities, and even just everyday people calling out racism when they see it. It shows that, yeah, ignorance exists, but so does a whole lot of resistance.
I've seen people shut down racism in the craziest ways, from memes to comebacks, and it's hilarious.
Honestly, fighting ignorance with facts and humor, that's a real power move. Oh, by the way, Kanza, I was meaning to ask, have you ever experienced racism? Because I don't think I ever have.
I don't think so, but as a Muslim, it would really suck. And in fact, it's so common and disgusting that there's actually a word for it: Islamophobia. So, a quick recap from our last episode: Islamophobia is basically when someone has an irrational hate or fear towards Muslims. It's based on stereotypes, and in some cases, it's linked to terrorism, which is really extreme.
Yeah, I saw this article the other day actually. A 14-year-old boy got attacked in a Hindu temple just for asking for water. Like, who attacks a kid? Mind you, a kid who asks for water. Some people seriously need to get a grip. And then there's this other story actually that has been really stuck in my head. A dad gets jumped by a mob while his little daughter is literally holding on to him, terrified. Seriously, people need to touch some grass.
Honestly, though, it's really crazy because if we learn about it in school constantly, why do people still act this way?
Right, it's not that hard. Like, at the end of the day, we're all just people. No one's better than anyone else.
But unfortunately, some people would rather stick to stereotypes instead of getting to know someone.
For sure, racism and stereotyping shouldn't be normal, and we can't let it slide.
Talking about school, racism in education has been a big thing throughout history, from segregation to immigrants being treated unfairly.
For instance, black students in the UK are 3 times more likely to be excluded than white students. That says a lot about how racism plays out even in classrooms. By the way, Kanza, have you heard of unconscious bias? Because it's an important topic that I think everyone should know about.
Yeah, I have. But in case you don't know, unconscious bias is when the brain makes judgments or decisions based on previous experience or self-made interpretations that we aren't aware of. For example, let's say that an interviewer is interviewing someone who is dressed a certain way for their religion or has a different race to the interviewer. The interviewer may or may not accept them because they could have had a positive or negative interaction with someone else who could be the same race or same religion or dressed similarly.
Quickly covering immigration, the Southport incident has created several riots since the case was quickly dismissed on the assumption that the attacker, who was born in Britain with Rwandan parents, was an asylum seeker. This shows us that many people are quickly judged based on their appearance, which ties into unconscious bias.
It's really sad how quickly people are judged even if they're in the wrong. Yes, the police had inaccurate information, but that doesn't mean we can justify the attacker's actions. We must not spread information or assumptions about people's backgrounds, and it's really important that we don't jump to conclusions since it divides and prevents society from addressing roots of violence and fear.
Seriously, be a normal person because normal people are not racist. That's our time up for today. Catch you in the next episode, guys. Bye!
That's right. Until then, take care, stay kind, and call out nonsense when you see it. Bye, guys!
Thanks for listening to the Voice and Participation podcast from West Sussex. Don't forget, your voice matters, and together we can make a difference. Join us next time for more stories, ideas, and conversations led by children and young people.